All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started on our inequality test review. So this first section says solve each inequality, then represent it on a number line. So we're just going to start with solving. I'm going to do it over here because I have a little bit more space and it's easier to stay organized. So we have 8 minus 3x is greater than or equal to 12. So I'll draw my line. Step 1 is make sure it's an addition problem. It is not, so I'm going to do LCO. So you have 8 plus negative 3x is greater than 12. Step 2 says get rid of the constant. So to get rid of the constant, I add the opposite on both sides. 8 and negative 8, they cancel. So I have negative 3x is greater than or equal to, and 12 plus negative 8 is 4. To get rid of the coefficient, I do the inverse. The inverse of times negative 3 is divide by negative 3 on both sides. And this is where we have to ask ourselves the question, did you multiply or divide by a negative? So here we divided by a negative, and if we divided by a negative, then we flip our sign. So instead of greater than or equal to, it's going to be less than or equal to. I can tell from the beginning that that's going to happen because I have a negative coefficient. So some of us, we circle or we say it's going to flip. Things like that. We'll look at that one on the next question. So 4 divided by 3, I'm going to leave this as a fraction. So 3 goes into 4 one time with 1 out of 3 left over, and a positive divided by negative is a negative. So that's kind of, we get x is less than or equal to negative 1 1/3. So we're going to put this on a number line. Negative 1 1/3. And if it is less than or equal to, it's going to be a closed circle. And less than goes to the left. So your representation would look something like this. All right, let's go to the second one. We've got 1/3 x minus 7 is greater than 5. So again, we make sure it's an addition problem. It is not, so we do LCO. And this is where some people may want to change 1/3 x is the same as x over 3. Because there's an invisible 1 right here. So this guy, I'm going to change him in a minute, but to get rid of a negative 7, I'm going to add a positive 7 to both sides. So technically I get 1/3 x, but I'm going to write it as x over 3 is greater than, and 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. At this point, to get rid of the coefficient, you do the inverse. The inverse of divide by 3 is to multiply by 3 on both sides. So we get x, and 12 times 3 is 36. Here's where we ask ourselves the question, did we multiply or divide by a negative? And we did not, so our sign stays the same. At this point, again, we could have seen that from the beginning. Our coefficient was positive, so we could have just seen that from the beginning. Over here, when I represent, x is greater than 36. So if it's greater than 36, it's going to be an open circle, and greater than goes to the right. Again, we can kind of get rid of some things sometimes just by knowing that it's an open or a closed circle, and we'll look at that in just a moment. Number 3, negative 12 is less than or equal to 9 plus negative 3x. Only difference here is your variable is on the right side, so that might be something we need to look at later. So to get rid of a plus 9, we add a negative 9, and whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. 9 and negative 9, they cancel. So I'm left with 3x over here. And my sign just comes down with me. And negative 9 and negative 12, they're on the same team. So they group, and I get negative 21. So at this point, to get rid of a times negative 3, I divide by negative 3 on both sides. And negative 21 divided by negative 3 is 7. Here's where, again, we look at our sign. Did we multiply or divide by a negative? We did. So instead of being less than or equal to, this guy is going to flip. Here's where we have to be really careful. So this right here is absolutely a great inequality. The only problem is if we read it this way, we have to read it from right to left, which some of us forget to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make it to where it's easier for us to read with our variable on the left side. But remember, when we switch the sides, we have to make sure and we adjust the sign as well. So this actually ends up being x is less than or equal to 7. So if we're talking x is less than or equal to 7, it's a closed circle to the left. That's one of the biggest mistakes some of us are making, is we're just forgetting to adjust because our variable's on the right side. Okay, so question number 4. We've got 7. Let me scoot this up a little bit too. 7 minus 2x is less than 17. And I'm gonna solve this one, but I'm gonna walk us through a little bit of problem solving here. If we know for a fact that we have to do LCO, leave, change, opposite, and we know that this right here is going to be an open circle, I know for a fact this one is not going to be my answer because it's a closed circle. I also know for a fact this one is not going to be my answer because it's a closed circle. And to be honest, if I know that my sign is going to go from less than to greater than, the only one that's greater than with an open circle is B. And I'm not telling you to stop and not solve the problem, but if we're being problem solvers, we should already know what our answer should be. So let's prove it. So we're going to do LCO. So we got 7 plus negative 2x. To get rid of a plus 7, we add a negative 7 to both sides. So I have negative 2x is less than 10. To get rid of a times negative 2, I divide by negative 2 on both sides. These cancel, so I get x. 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. And I flip my sign. So it should be x is greater than negative 5. Well, look at there. X is greater than negative 5, which is awesome. So let's go to number 5. Number 5 is very, very similar, okay, to what we just did with number 4. For example, I have a less than, so I know it's going to be an open circle, so I'm going to go ahead. This is going to be an open, open, open. So really this time I can only get rid of A because it's closed and we don't need a closed circle. I also know this sign, because I have a positive coefficient, it's still going to be less than. So this is greater than, so I can get rid of this guy because that's greater than. So I guess I still have to solve it to see which one of these answers is what I need. So we got 2x minus 5 is less than negative 4. I'm going to go ahead and do LCO, leave, change, opposite. To get rid of a plus negative 5, I add a positive 5. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So we get 2x is less than 1. To get rid of a times 2, I divide by 2 on both sides. And this is where in class, this is just 1/2. So x is less than 1/2. I don't have to make it any more complicated than that. If you wanted to do 0.5, 1/2 is equivalent to 0.5, but it's already written for you as this fraction. So I would just leave it like that. So the one that says x is less than 1/2, looks like this guy is right between 0 and 1. This guy is at 2, so he's out. So our answer would be B. All right. Number 6, it says the model represents an inequality. So here we have each one of these are x's. So we've got 3x plus, and these are all positive ones. So we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And that's less than or equal to 2, 4, 6, and those are shaded. So that's a negative 6. So 3x plus 12 is less than or equal to negative 6. Same situation, to get rid of a plus 12, I add a negative 12. These guys cancel. So we got 3x is less than or equal to negative 18. I can tell from the beginning my sign is not going to flip because it has a positive coefficient. So we got divided by 3 on both sides. My sign does not flip. And negative 18 divided by positive 3 is negative 6. So let's say this guy is negative 6. X is less than, so it's going to be an open circle, less than negative 6. Awesome. If you got to this part so far, put a little smiley face with a little tongue sticking out right there, and then we're going to go to the back page. Number 7. Number 7 is pretty straightforward. You've got an inequality, 3x plus, I'm going to go ahead and do LCO. So 3x plus negative 2 is greater than 1. We're going to do some problem solving here for a minute. This has 3 x's. This has positive 2. So that guy's out. This has 3 x's and positive 2. So that guy's out. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. Well, I only need 2 ones. This has 3 x's, 2 negatives, and it's greater than positive 1. The only one that even matches the correct inequality is D. And if I were to solve it, I would get x is greater than 1. So all we have to do is really make sure and match the model. Now, sometimes 2 of the models might work, so you might have to check both of them, and that's okay. I know these 2 are very similar, so if our inequality had been different, we might have had to check and actually solve it, but this one we don't have to do that. Number 8, this is one of those inequality questions. So I'm going to write co for coefficient, con for constant, and kw for keyword. So let's look. A farmer has 27 buckets of apples and can harvest 23 buckets of apples each day. Well, that each day tells me that 23 is my coefficient. This has 23 as a coefficient. This has 23. This has 23. This has technically a negative 23. So I'm going to say D is not going to be my correct answer. They all have 27 as their constant. So the only thing different are our inequality signs. So we need to just check and see. Which inequality can be used to find D? I guess this should be D and not N. Which inequality can be used to find D, the number of days it will take the farmer to have at least 150. So here's our keyword, at least. And we have talked about at least does not mean less than. A lot of you guys think that at least means he needs 150 or more. So that's going to be greater than or equal to. So the only one that has the correct information with greater than or equal to symbol is B. All right, almost done, y'all. Number 9, Bob needs to save a minimum of $200. So we're going to go co, con, and keyword. Minimum of 200. So minimum might be a keyword for us. So he makes $10 an hour. That's going to tell us that's our coefficient. And he got $50 for his birthday. That's nice. I want $50 for my birthday. Write an inequality to find H, the number of hours he must work to have at least, so minimum, at least, those are both greater than or equal to $200. So we got 10H plus his $50 for his birthday, and he wants at least $200. Awesome. So we've got, to get rid of your constant, we add the opposite. I got 10H over here, greater than or equal to 150. To get rid of a multiply by 10, I divide by 10. So we got H is greater than or equal, greater than or equal to 15. So that means he has to work 15 hours or more. I did not multiply or divide by negative, so my sign does not flip. Let's say this is 15. There's going to be a closed circle, and greater than or equal to shades to the right. Last thing. Number 10. Okay. This is really, really tricky. So a lot of us, we see this and we kind of know what's going on, but here's the problem is the variable, it's on the right side and we want it over here on the left. So I'm gonna mark this out and I'm gonna rewrite it exactly. 52 plus 25x, and I'm gonna write 2,000 over here. And when I switch the sides, what do I also have to switch? I have to switch the sign. So now this is my inequality that I'm looking for in this question. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the key inequality words. I'm going to not even look for the correct coefficient or constant yet. All I'm going to do is look for the keywords. Mandy sold 52 boxes of fruit for $25 each plus a bonus. Find the least amount Mandy will earn if she sold fruit and earned at least $2,000. Well, at least does mean greater than or equal to. So this one checks out for now. Karen has $25 in her savings and she earns $52 per house. I'm not even going to kind of stop at this, but $52 per house. That would mean that 52 is the coefficient, so technically this one's already wrong. But let's look at the keyword. The amount of houses she'll have to clean to have more than, well, more than means greater than. So not only is the sign wrong, also the coefficient is wrong, so B is out. Ben has a balance of $52 in the bank. He added $25 per week. Find X the amount of weeks it will take him to have over $2,000. Over means greater than. That's definitely not what we have. And the last one, Mauricio earned $52 and also earns $25 for each lawn. Find X the amount of lawns he'll need to mow if he wishes to earn a maximum of $2,000. Well, maximum means $2,000 is the most that he wants. So maximum is actually less than or equal to, and we know for a fact that we need greater than or equal to. So the only one that actually even has the right inequality sign is A. All right, so we're going to do a little test here for those of you who made it all the way to the end of the video. So if you did, don't tell anybody else what the trick is, but I would like for you to write, let's see, your favorite type of pizza right here. So I'm going to write pepperoni right here in the middle of mine. So if you'll just kind of write your favorite type of pizza there in the middle, that way I know you made to the end of this review video. Thank y'all for watching and good luck on your test.